Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 74. 74. Happy 74th episode, everybody. Of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. My kid has now been asleep 74 times and recorded afterwards. The dad. That's what that means. Today is Monday. Well, it was. It's a late one. It's a later. He's been asleep for at least 10 minutes. But we don't have school tomorrow. We don't have school. We don't have camp. I can't really describe what it's like to put your kid to bed. Um, we just love them so much, and they love not being asleep so much. It's very strange. It's like you're both fighting a battle that neither of you should be the sergeant, the general, the field general on. Like like when he has school, I got some sort of motivation. Because I'm like, I'm gonna have to be up to wake him up soon. So he's got to go to bed. No, I want him to be awake. Or camp. Camp is another word for school in the summer. I found out, but it's more fun. No uniforms, whatever. Happy, so glad that he's there or was there, but it's over now. Now the dream. Now the dream's happening. This is the what I've been looking forward to all summer. Just like nothing. Just nothing. When do we wake up? When he's early. Could be early. I told him. I talked to him about it. I was like, hey, it's later now, so can you not do the thing where you wake up early anyway, buddy? And he was like, I always sleep as long as I can. I know. That's that's what I thought. That's what I thought you would say, and that's the scary. I can do it though. I can do it. I've been a dad for 6 years now. Okay, my son is 4. No, I he's 6, and he's my only child, and I've been an active father the whole time. And it just happened a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it happens always at year 6 or 6.5, as a child would remind you. I'm 6.5, Dad. He is 6.5. We got to figure out his birthday party soon. He's gonna be 6 3/4, right around the corner, and then you're looking at 6 7/8. Man, you got to reserve it by 6 7/8. Otherwise, what's going on? So this line is green today. I think that's a good sign. Green is good. Green's always good. I shouldn't say that because maybe like a group that targets certain groups could be like, we're gonna be green because everyone likes green. Um, you can't just go by color. I learned that from the Sneetches. Have you heard of the Sneetches? Well, it's a book by Dr. Seuss about these characters that have stars on their bellies and they think they're the best. And so then these other guys this guy comes to town. First, there's this guy. He's so smart. He builds a machine that puts stars on people. It's like he's a tattoo art. He's a glorified tattoo artist. Am I really breaking down the Sneetches right now? Yeah. Yeah. Why not? It's called I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. It's in here. When has something in here never come out of here? When is that? Has that ever? Has that ever? If, as far as you know, has there ever been something in here? I'm pointing at my brain right now. I think this is the part of my brain that does podcasts. This part? Is this the podcasting part? I only use 10% of the podcasting part. When has there been anything in that just didn't? That's why we do a podcast, because when I do stand up comedy. If you're wondering, the show is not. It's. I know, it's entertaining is the word I would say. More. I don't know about more. It's a different. It's a conversation. I talk. You laugh. We're great. We're great. Usually. Anyway, the Sneetches. They want the star Sneetches are the better ones. But who decided that? First off, the people with the stars did, and they mistreated the no star Sneetches. And then the other Sneetches saw that as their problem. They're like, oh, that's on us. And I think, I'm not going to say they're equally at fault here, but I think if you don't have a star, a triangle, a circle, a diamond on your stomach, and everyone's mistreating you because of that, you don't have to give that validation. You can be like, get out. I got a lot of cool people over here. That's kind of how I was raised. My whole life was like, um, my childhood was like, it's not whether you're hanging out with the cool people. It's like who you're with are the people, and get over yourself is I think the tone. Um, no, it's more like yeah, how the world perceives the people around you shouldn't affect whether you love them or not. That's a good message. That's not the Sneetch's message. Sneetch's message. The Sneetch's message is more like, so they hire this guy. This guy comes to town. He's got a cool machine. He puts stars on you. $3. Only $3. And the first time, half off. And so they all do it. And then the Sneetches that have the star, they're like, well, how do we know we're the best now? And so that guy is like, I built another machine and it's more expensive because I just is. He realized how much money he can make, and he was like, "I'll take them off for $10," and they're like, "We're doing it." And then the people who got the stars on, they're like, "I'm gonna get my star off too." So they're all like the famous the most best people. So now they're down $13, and the other ones are down 10, and the other guy's just making money. And I think that symbolizes corporate America, capitalism. I don't know about capitalism. This isn't a socialist, but it's just like the engine that benefits from people feeling like they're not enough, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be anything. It can be a person. It can be a guy with a hat that makes a ton of money. It can be a TV show. It can be, there's good things out in the world too. But anyways, this guy leaves town because he takes everyone's money, and he's like, these Nietzsche's will never learn. But then they do. They look around. They're like, we're all the same. And they're not all the same. One guy has 2 stars on his back, which you're doing it wrong. You're going through the machine wrong, you know? The cartoons were made in like the 80s. I don't know, maybe 70s. The book was written. I don't know. This isn't a history book. This podcast is not a history book, everybody. Did you know that? It's just not. It's a podcast. It's a video cast pod. However you're listening is what it is. Seeing, watching. By the way, I appreciate thank you for being here. This is a big part of tonight. This is like a big chunk. Like I only get a couple of minutes to myself, right? On a Monday night when I put my kid. Last week, you might disagree because I was in a hotel. I had all of Vegas behind me, the whole week ahead of me, and there was probably a glint of hope, a scent of joy, um, maybe like a little bit of longing or yearning for what else that week could be, right? And now it's all that's it's been buried in the ground, and it's not dead, but it's gonna die because buried alive. It's got to be the worst way. I shouldn't put that out there. I don't want anyone to know the way I think is the worst way to die because there might be enemies listening to this. I can't find my water. I don't know. Enemies. Anyway, no water right now. We're just gonna see how this goes. Um, but yeah, that's not the worst. The worst way for me to die, if you really want to know, is to grow old and watch my kids have kids and just see their smiling faces all the time, and then like live longer than anybody else, but be really athletic so I can like win the Olympic Games for like old people and like discover like a new love of a person or an activity, probably a person, and then have a whole nother chapter when everyone thinks the book is over, and then also get like beat the video games that I got stuck at when I was a kid, and then, like maybe finally like become the like start getting some commercial work, and so that would be the worst way for me to go. So enemies, take note. Also, getting like chocolate covered strawberries in the mail every couple weeks. Um, don't send them to the PO box. I don't check it enough for food. Also, I don't know if you can send packages to it. Anyway, the Sneetches learned that they spent so much money getting the stars put off and put on. Did I really explain it right? Did the ones that had them on thought they were better than everybody else, and because they thought they were better, the ones without them thought that they were worse, or wanted to be included? Which here's my don't worry about being included. Don't let them come to you. I know it's hard. Let them come to. They might. What if they never come? Good. More resources for the no star Sneetches. I don't know. It is bad. Racism is bad. Starism is bad. Shapeism. Anyways, they realized they could all just be. They were all the same, but they were all different, and the star didn't make a difference. It's deep. My son wants to watch it like every day, and I think it's because it's long. And yeah, Yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure how we got on that. Should be the name of this podcast or episode podcast. I'm doing a little quieter because it's like I turned the mic up. It's green though. That's good. And I only got my trophy in the show. I'd like take my whole studio out to Las Vegas to shoot this last Monday. And because there's people out there that might watch or listen to who knows how much. I don't look at the numbers because I don't want to be like, why am I doing this? No, I appreciate. Thank you for being. So it's a little different shot, but I think it's good, and I think this is going to be we got a really good show. I always love it when I turn on like a late night show where they're going away. So watch them while we got them. Fallon, Kimmel, Colbert. I think people are gonna realize that was a calming thing that was nice that went away because streaming got rid of TV. Streaming doesn't even just in my adulthood, like 10 years ago, I was at a friend's house and we were watching reruns of Full House because they were just on. And that can never happen now. Like, if I want to watch a rerun of Full House, I got to find out where it's streaming, sit down, and then really take in where my life is. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. I love Full House. But it's like as a man by myself, if I turn it on and it's just on, that's something that's on. Yay. But if I seek it out, then I got to find it. And it's like, I don't know. I've seen most of them. I haven't watched the last one because it's so sad to think about it ending. But then Fuller House came back and I haven't watched that. But the whole point is you could watch Full House as a rerun. Reruns were just there. And I kind of like that. I don't like choosing every moment of my life when it comes to watching TV. I just want to turn it on, give me a couple, because it doesn't really matter. That's from a different book. What kind of pet would you get? We talked about that episode. Go through the file. I'll email it to you if you're not sure. This is a big ad for Majestic right now. I realize you can't see I have a Cleveland Cavaliers 2016 champion. They were the champions. I've been thinking about champions a lot. Not a lot. Okay. A decent. Seriously, I think this is a profound idea. Okay. This idea, while not super positive, I think is something that you're not going to hear a lot of the people talk about who talk about sports. I think it's amazing, okay, that everybody that you watch play professional basketball, baseball, and football in the Super Bowl, World Series, NBA Finals, those aren't respective to where I listed it. I kind of lost track. All the people that play for that, they've played their sport against the best in the world for a whole season, being paid millions of dollars. Most of them at least made more money than the average person makes. A lot of them $1 million. A good amount of the starters. I haven't looked it up. This is losing its feet pretty quick. If you've seen the podcast before, you know that usually I hold on to my theories a little longer before they just unravel like this. The point is, they have a guy will get a contract, right? Okay, let's take Deshaun Watson. People are really critical of Deshaun Watson because he got the most guaranteed money ever in the NFL, right? And if you don't follow sports, you can still follow money, right? If you don't follow sports or follow money, chances are you're not a big podcast person. You're living in a mountain and you're grounding, which is good. Grounding's great. I wanted to pick a school for my son that had real grass because I wanted him to be able to ground, not on purpose, because that's a little crazy for I'm not going to be like, hey, buddy, did you ground at school today? Did you do it in a way so all the children knew that your dad is a little crazy? I don't think it's crazy to ground. I just think kids should just have their hands in the dirt, And there's one elementary school that we saw that had grass grounding and a wait list, because that's how much people love grounding. Anyway, he'll just have to ground at home. But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so these professional athletes, right? People are so hard on them when they lose and stuff, but they make money for going to the playoffs and Super Bowl and stuff. But I think the fact that they go to the gym, really hard, and they work out really hard, and they play really hard, and they they literally won the lottery. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like if you were to play the lottery and you were to make like $40 million or whatever, or are you like everyone's like, what are you doing? Not going to work, And like every one of these players that gets a huge contract, they have guaranteed like at least $10 million when it comes to NFL or something, and they still go to work. And like Deshaun Watson stopped, and everyone's like, not everyone, no one really is talking about this, but I get it. I get he got the most guaranteed money ever, and he's not panning out. And I think it's amazing that that doesn't happen more often. Because like one time, okay, here's me making it my life. Okay, this is relatable. Okay, this is I promise you. Don't you dare not. You can turn it off. I'm not gonna be like, don't turn that channel because there's no channels. We talked about that. You can't watch Full House. But like, just listen. Okay, this is gonna be a personal. I'll get into more personal later, maybe if we have time. But this is where it's at. Okay, in my life, and this is like a little bit of a confession, and I don't do that a lot. The most of my comedy and scripted material is me ending up at least on top of the laughter. Like if people are laughing at me, it's because I got them there, or I'm usually the guy that did the right thing at some point. That's just me. And I think some people like Mike Birbiglia might say that you need to be the guy, you need to be a real person who makes mistakes. And so here we are. I booked a pilot one time, which sounds amazing. I never thought that I would, and then I didn't. It wasn't like an acting one. I was hosting a show, and it was this time of year. That's probably why I'm thinking about it. Because as a comedian, August, from what I've seen, is where I'm like, oh, I didn't save, because we work all year long, and then July comes, and everyone's like, we're good on comedy, and then August comes around, and you're like, oh, I didn't think. So it was around this time of year, a long time ago, probably like, now I want to figure it out. It was probably, I broke my wrist that year. That doesn't help. I broke my wrist that year diving for a baseball. This is a totally different story. That's not as personal. And I was doing a show in Los Angeles at the Meltdown, which was a really hot room back in the day because they gave out, I don't know, this isn't the main reason, but sometimes things get really big and you're like, this is why. I think it's because they gave out free beer. They didn't charge, maybe they charged for tickets, but they gave you out free alcohol. And I think that's a great thing for a show where you're not like, they weren't trying to make money. They were just trying to like, in LA, you're not necessarily going to make a lot of money. You're going to make your money in acting or writing or on the road. So you just want like a hot show that like people want to come to, and then the famous people will come to your show. And they give out free beer, and it was also very funny. They had very funny hosts, and it was very kind. It was a very kind environment. Kumail Nanjiani and Jonah Ray, nicest people, and Kumail's wife Emily like booked it. It was like everyone was so nice, and I think that helps too. And anyways, I was in the green room, and I'd broken my wrist, and there was like kind of like a famous comedy director backstage who was doing stand up, and he asked me how I broke my wrist, and someone said, was it skateboarding? And I think that would have been like the cool like comedian answer, but mine was like, I dove for a baseball. And then he stopped talking to me, and I realized he wasn't like into sports. Like he threw out the first pitch at a game one time, and it wasn't that good. And so I was like, oh, that was I didn't get my in. But you got to be who you are, I like sports, and I play them a lot. You got to be, and those people will come around. There's people that like sports that hire people too. That's not what I'm trying to say. I should just stuck with the original plan. Like, here's an example of that. I'm gonna go back to the personal thing, but when I was on the radio one time in Indianapolis, Bob and Tom's great show. It's been around forever, and they were, it was really good. They promoted the comedians really well, and it was in Indianapolis, and they had season tickets to the Colts, and football came up, and I was like, I always want to get season tickets, and they're like, who would you want to have season tickets for? And I think if I'd said the Colts, like not that they would have given me their tickets, but if there were any open ever, I think I would have had a good chance, and they were great tickets, and I was like the Bears because they're my favorite team, and then they didn't really say they would get me tickets for that. But then I ended up going to a lot of Bears games that year. So that was worth talking about. No, my personal thing. So I booked this pilot August of I don't know, the year I met Judd Apatow. And I did I did this pilot where it was about people that lived at home with their parents and their parents were making them move out of their house. And it was like kind of like one of those home shows where they kind of redo your home for free, like but with the idea being that this guy's got to move out of their parents' house, and then they're going to redo their bedroom so they can never come back ever again. Which, on a very basic level, I'm against. Morally, I think when a kid leaves, you shouldn't like change it into a movie room. It's his room, and he's what do you want him to not come back for Thanksgiving? Does he have to stay in a hotel now? Like, what if times are hard? Times could be hard, and now he's got to like move your workout stuff out of the way. I don't know. If you have a house and you want to get rid of your kids' rooms, go ahead. But that was the premise of the show, and I felt bad because they did it to this kid's room, and I was like, I don't really know if anybody really wanted this, but maybe they did. Anyway, I go into the audition, and I have a lot of jokes about living at home with my parents, and I was just in Vegas the week before. I drove from Vegas to the callback or whatever the audition, and so I'm super tired because it was like overnight. I think I went home for like an hour, drove. I just started doing the jokes that I do about living at home with my parents. Check them out in my Dry Bar special. Just start doing them in the the surroundings of like this is an audition and we're filming it and this is like a scene from the show, and it goes well because like I've been doing that my whole stand-up career, and they put together an offer and we get it and it's great, and then I shoot it, and the money is very much like this is exactly what I needed to get through August, like not even millions, and I didn't ask for millions. I wasn't expecting, but it was like just exactly right. And I remember them being like, "You can be a part of this as much as you want. You can write stuff. You can do whatever you want." And I definitely tried, to be a part of it. I think that's what I'm saying. I didn't. I was just like I never said it, but I was like, because my job was just to host it, to go on set and just host the show. And I didn't have to. I didn't really understand how reality TV worked at the time, and how like it could be kind of like scripted in a sense. I didn't really know what my role was. I just sort of knew that they were like, this can be a thing for you, and you have a lot of control over. And I didn't do any. I was just like, well, I just kind of showed up and hosted, and because I was like, well, I already got the money, and that wasn't even close to what athletes make. And no one was like, oh, he didn't. I wasn't supposed to write stuff. There were like producers on the set or whatever. But I feel like if it was my idea that I sold, I would have been like, well, let's figure this out. Anyway, we'll cut that out before the podcast. I don't think I'm not gonna get hired for any more hosting. But yeah, it's very personal. Really digging deep. This is a very personal. You know why it's personal? It's just because like I realized recently. I was thinking back on a moment a long time ago, before the podcast, like pre-podcast, pre PIJGMT K. I just got my kid to sleep, and it was. I was just thinking about how like a long time. There was a moment where I was. I don't know. I think everyone's been through this, where they've had someone that they really liked. Like they maybe wanted to be in a relationship with, and I think you grow through that. Maybe nobody does. I think everybody does, kind of. I was reflecting on my life, and I found that the times where it worked out, where it was a relationship, were the times where this is gonna sound crazy. I don't even understand. I don't have the words. Our language doesn't have words to put to how any relationship ever works out. Like I feel like I was interested, like I liked the person, but I wasn't like in like with the person, I feel like anytime I've been in like with a person, they're like, like they can feel it, and they're like, not even like on a conscious level, but just on like, we're good here. Like, I don't know, like, I can't explain it. It just feels that way. And so whenever I find myself in a situation, it doesn't happen that much anymore because I'm so old and I'm a dad and I don't have time for any of it. But I was thinking back because I think it's still okay. I think it's still healthy. And we're talking about dating right now. This is the part of the episode we're talking about dating. I think it's still, because sometimes but I think people do get frustrated with themselves when they find themselves like liking someone who maybe doesn't like them at the same level or whatever, for whatever reason. It might not even be like a personal thing. It might just be like, you don't live here. And so I'm not going to put myself in that situation where I could fall into like with you. Or it might be like, I'm already like in a relationship with people, with a person, and that seems crazy to, to like, why would I leave this great, situation for this thing that might not, or it might be like, oh, you seem good, but you remind me of someone that's horrible, for whatever reason. And I feel like I used to be hard on myself for situations where, if it didn't work out or whatever. But I don't think it's not up to you. That's the first thing. And the second, and I was like, well, what a waste, that you could have feelings for someone that weren't. And this is like a long time ago. You wouldn't know them. It's just, this is more of a philosophy I was thinking about. So like, what a waste to have feelings that aren't like reciprocated. But then I was like, no, and maybe this is just because I'm like a lot older than I used to be. But like, I feel like, no, it's not about, because there's been times I feel like where, sometimes where you can like someone a lot, and then it comes around, and they're like open to it, and then you still have to like figure out what the relationship's gonna be like, what it is you like about them. Because partially, I think when you like someone and that you don't feel it, not 100%, there's like a rush of like, ugh, it's like jumping across a puddle, and it's kind of like farther than maybe you can jump, and part of the rush is like, I might get my feet wet. That's not a good metaphor, but it's there. And so I was like, so then even if you still gotta like that person, and not just the fact that it might not work out or whatever. And I think that what I was trying to say was that I used to be like, what a waste of like on someone if it's not going to work out. But I realized recently that if you really give in to it in a positive way of like, oh, I saw a quote recently. Usually I don't think about the podcast, but I thought about this recently. I thought it was something worthy of the podcast. My standards are very high for this podcast, and I just was like, I think this is worthy of it. So like, from a long time ago, um, this experience came back, and I think I saw this quote recently where like a dad, I think it was on Instagram. Instagram has everything. There's no reason to even watch this. I shouldn't. No, stay. This is gonna get really even better. Um, that a dad told her daughter, I think it was a daughter, it might have been a son, either or, that if you really like somebody, but he said love, but I'm not gonna say love because I feel like love is like a different thing. But if you love someone, then being their friend will be enough, because you love being around them, and 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 you get to do that as their friend. And some people I feel like that could be a problem, because you're like, oh, I want to be in this relationship. I don't want to just be their friend. But I think this is where the insight comes in from the dad that I projected onto my own life, which I'm bringing to you for no other reason than to, uh, I don't know. But I feel like if you love someone, okay, that isn't in a situation or doesn't love you in the way you love them, like maybe it's just a friend, or maybe it's not wasted love. Because I feel like whenever you feel like love or like a lot somebody, and it's not like you're not worried about it. You're not like, oh, how am I ever going to convince this? How am I ever going to change the universe to be with this person? Like if you're just like in awe of somebody and in adoration of them as a person, maybe you're attracted to what they talk about, or how they talk, or how they laugh, or how they look when they laugh, um, or whatever it is, whatever the thing is. The fact that you found something that you can like respond so positively to first shows that you're like I think it's like gold, if you can just remove the surroundings of the situation from it, and just, appreciate that you have a person that like when you see that you feel this love for, um, or like attract, or whatever it is, like admiration. I feel like you can take that. This is what I realized from a situation a long time ago. You wouldn't know. Um, this you can take your feelings that from this person and then look at the world and realize, oh, I can be loving all of my life like that. I can, I can love not like that, but with the same sort of um open like appreciation, like seeing the beauty in everybody. I feel like when you fall in love with someone, that's what you're doing. You're seeing the beauty of that, like the best parts of them. And when you feel that, and whether sometimes being in the relationship can get in the way of that, because if you end up marrying that person, then you're just like, oh, this is just with them. But I think that's the thing, is that you can have this feeling, this experience with something, and then realize, oh, that's just because the circumstances led to this. But it's not super hard to take that point of view and look at like a family member and be like, oh, I'm so lucky you're in my life. Or like your job or your inanimate object, car, house. Like you can love your whole life the way that you looked at this person who for whatever reason made you feel a certain way. And I think that's the gift that they give you and that you give yourself. Um, and uh, and I think that'd be a good movie. like I mean, I think sometimes as a comedian, I'm very not romantic comedy, but I think if you were, you could like have a person who falls in love, and then like, hey, um, you know, they learn, they learn, they grow. So that's that's the that's the part I got out. Um, but yeah, I think I was thinking about it more because I was thinking about I was on a dating app, Hinge. Are you on Hinge? And I just feel like sometimes harder. I feel like to fall in love or like or whatever with with like just when there's so many. And I shouldn't say harder because that's the thing. But I feel like when you run into somebody and then you end up like starting a some sort of whatever it is with them. There's a special. It feels more special with how random it is, and I have trouble seeing that with the internet in the same way of like, oh, I can't believe that the in Hinge, the algorithm, but the first one it shows you is like, you guys are a perfect match. It just doesn't feel the same way as like one time, long time ago, you wouldn't know her. A girl that I dated uh for a little bit, she was great. I met her because she left her keys in the comedy club and I was like out of the comedy club, but she saw me and she's like, "Hey, can you give me my keys?" And then I did. And then like we like went for a walk and it was like, "Oh, this is someone who I like too." And it was like, "Oh, that's sorry algorithm, but that's not as magical." But you meet however you can meet and apps are great too, I'm sure. I don't know if I had one story. I might have told this already. I've only been on a dating app for like less than a year. Low power mode. Let's do it. 10% left. My phone's like, we're falling asleep. Um, this isn't your brand, Michael. One person who I went out with a couple times, and I think I might have talked about this already. I don't think so though. I think that if this was like a big produced show, I could have like a rundown, a breakdown, and I could not a mental. We've already, um, of what I've done, and then be like, okay, here's the story. If you've heard it before, we went out a couple times, and it always ended up being at like nice restaurants because of by accident. Like I didn't know the neighborhood she lived in, and I was like, "Oh, this is good." And then it was like nicer than I would go to for like I don't know. It seemed like you'd go there for like a 1 year anniversary or something, but we were just there, and I don't, like I have a lot of money, but it's usually spent. Anyway, I don't have a lot of money, but like someday I might. That's just not my style. Even if I had a ton of money, I wouldn't like seek out expensive restaurants early on. I think they're fun and it shouldn't matter. And it can be like a cool thing to do. But something I've learned when you travel a lot, like sometimes you might skip steps because you're like, oh, I'm only in town this day, this month, so we should go to a nice restaurant. And you're just like, well, let's just see if we like each other first. Anyway, we went out a couple times, and then we were supposed to go see her friends. I was gonna like meet her friends, which is like kind of a cool thing, and we had a lot in common. And but instead she was like, I'm tired, so we went to the grocery store, and she was very nice. Nothing bad to say. Um, this is just the internet. And we got cupcakes at this grocery store, and she also got groceries. And she's like, "Oh, this is the first time I've been in the grocery store with like another person. I think since her last relationship 2 years ago or whatever, or a man. Maybe it was a man. Maybe she went with friends. But anyway, it was kind of like, oh, this is going somewhere. And then we went back to her apartment and we ate the cupcakes, and it was a really good cupcake. And I know that because I like fell asleep. Like I fell asleep on her couch after the cupcake. Like that's just ate the cupcake, kind of like hanging out on the couch, fell asleep. Kind of like I don't know if it's romantic, but it's like you're eating cupcake, you're sitting next to somebody, and you kind of just fall asleep on each other. And a half hour goes by. I wake up and I sense that something was like I didn't feel responsible for it. Like when something happens in your dream, you're not responsible. Not that having my dream, but that's what it felt like. I was like, oh, was I snoring? And she was like, yeah. And then I never heard from her ever again. And I just thought that was like, I don't think snoring's like I was in Las Vegas this weekend, and my cousin, I stayed with me in my hotel room, and he snored a little bit. And maybe this is because I snore, so I'm more of a pro snorer person. But whenever I was about to fall asleep or go, and he was snoring, I just tried to see the snoring as like kind of like a calming thing. Like, oh, he's already asleep. I haven't kept him up by like walking around the room and not going to bed right away. What a nice thing to know that the person sharing a room with me is so comfortable that they're already asleep. And it kind of had a rhythm to the snoring, and then I would just fall asleep. But from my experience, not everybody feels that way about snoring. Anyway, yeah, I lost focus a little bit. It's not your fault. You didn't do it. I I had an agenda, and I covered it, and I don't. It wasn't what the show usually is. This isn't what the thing usually is. I just feel like when I have an insight that I feel is a thing, I'm gonna say it 30 minutes in when people prime time. Sneeches lead off with that. If you can't be with someone who you love the world around you, and then your life becomes that love. 37 minutes in. Um, and I believe in that so much. I think it's changed my life, Even though it was so long ago, to reflect on it now, I was like, oh, that's great. Um, I was in Las Vegas. It was great. I had a great. My parents and family came. Here's the thing too. What I realized, which you might not realize because you're not a stand-up comedian touring, is like people are the best. They're just the best. Because you might think that being alone is awesome all the time because you can do whatever you want, you can eat whatever you want, you can watch whatever you want. But if you do it enough, you're like, I get this, and I've worked through it. You could tell I've done some work, but I get this anxiety of like, well, what do I do now? Because when I have people in my life, in my day, I feel like the priorities just fall in line. My parents, my aunt and uncle, and my aunts and uncle and my cousin all came out to Las Vegas just to see me, is what I tell myself. Not that there's any other kind of entertainment in Las Vegas that would have attracted them to make this trip for my road work. It's just me. But it was like so, because I would wake up and I'd be like, did you guys eat already? Because it'd be around 1 or 2 o'clock. And usually I would make it to the breakfast or lunch, or they'd already been eating and I get to order it during dessert. And that was fine with everybody. People said, thank you for coming. And they bought my salad. And then we would walk around or do something. And with that many people, sometimes it was like, well, what do we all want to do and whatever. And then they came to my show 2 times. And even though, like, if I was all by myself, I might have been able to, I'm going to, I don't know, do some paperwork. It just felt so much more valuable having people. Like, I got to grow and know, like we have memories now. We have, I don't know if memories matter, but like we have we've related, we've lived. Like I've slept in the same room as my cousin for 5 days. That who can say that? Who who shared a room with their younger cousin for 5 days in the past year? Who? 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 And you know, I don't think I think I do. I am lucky that like every week I'm by myself. So it's if it ever is like, oh, this is kind of I don't have as much. I can always be like, well, next week I'm by myself. I can do whatever I want. But there's like a person. I think that's the thing. When you're around people, you now have a thing between you guys that will last forever. You know, even if they're not around, you have that thing with somebody. Whereas like um you like went to the pool together at this hotel and or like you went out to eat or you walked around. Whereas like some people I feel like don't like whenever I can have family around or people who I have value, I'm just like they're the most important thing. Also as a comedian, my job is to just be a person, I feel like on stage. So the more I can be around people who are people, then I can like, oh, I can like watch them and be like, that's what being a person's like. Now, I know I'm a person. Some people have questioned, but those people weren't nice. You know, some people are like, oh, you don't, you, I think some people like are not, and then they tell you you're not, and you start to believe it because you're like, well, how could they be wrong? And then you look at their track record and like, well, they've been wrong. Sometimes I do these and I'm like, oh, this was funny or interesting through some parts, and then sometimes I'm like, this was just me. So Vegas was great. The comedy club, like I said, such a great family friend. Brad Garrett, nicest. Go to Brad Garrett's comedy club anytime. But when he's there, it's like my parents came to one of the shows and he met my parents and my family, and he took a picture. It was really fun. I'll post it in the blog. There's no blog, but it might go out on the internet. Instagram at Michael Palasek. I gotta send those pictures to my family. I took so last year was my parents' 50th anniversary wedding anniversary, the wedding one. Okay, guys, that's the anniversary of, and my parents met. So maybe this has come from that. My parents met in college. Okay, here's the story. Here's the story how they met. So my mom went ice skating in college, and her dad told her to bring her ice skates down to college, and she said she'd be fine, which we all know. Just take them, right? I think she kind of even knew. Just take them. Just their ice skates. What are they? You know, what kind of square footage are you taking up by bringing your ice skates? Throw them under your bed. Maybe you'll never use them. Take them. Take them. Your dad bought you those ice skates. Take them. She didn't take them, so she went to the ice skating events and rented ice skates, and it didn't go well. She broke her ankle, but she didn't know it. And I think in college, you just like, you break your ankle in college, you just like walk that off until you're like, oh, it's broken, you know? And maybe they were drinking. Who knows? I don't think my mom drank a lot, but maybe. So they go to a party after the ice skating, and my dad asks my mom to dance. And from what I understand, they didn't know each other at all. It was a cold call, which I'm the product of a cold call. So get out there, everybody. App or no app, I exist because of a cold call. And maybe that was more, I don't know, they were at a dance and she said no because her ankle was broken. But my dad took it as like, oh, she just doesn't want to dance with me, which is kind of a big, like when I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, she didn't want to dance with him because I would watch Saved by the Bell and everyone liked a specific person and somebody. But now I realize like if you're at a dance in college, if someone asks you to dance, like they have to be like pretty repulsive to like not like no, not you, no. And also like I know the music's loud, but she could be like my ankle hurts, and he didn't hear that. Maybe he felt that love for her and just put it out in the world, you know? And then a year went by or whatever, and my mom healed her ankle, and he saw her again, and he was like, they were talking, and he was like, I asked you to dance, and you said no, and she's like, my ankle's broken. And he believed her, which that's the story we're going with as a family, is that she did break her ankle that day, and that's why she couldn't dance, even though she ice skated on the broken ankle and went to the party. If you're going to the party, you should be able to dance if you could dance. Anyway, and then they ended up like, you know, getting married 3 or 4 years later. So, not the anniversary of that, the anniversary of the wedding. And I had pictures on my phone from that wedding anniversary party for a long time before I finally like sent them out. So I got to send out these Brad Garrett pictures. Anyway, Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, Las Vegas, MGM Grand. The nicest people. Great popcorn. Great popcorn. Like, I had the movie theater butter popcorn, but there's also and they just put it in the green room. And there's also York peppermint patties in the green room, and they're very good. Anyways, I'm saying too much. But Brad is very funny, but he's like very different than me. Like, he does like all crowd work and jokes too, but they're very dirty and very like based off of certain stereotypes. And I would say like he's very, because I was like, oh, that was great, and he was like, no, you don't. And he doesn't talk himself up at all. But it's Brad Garrett. You know, when you're famous, you don't talk yourself up. But he's very funny, and he does one joke that was like very like, this is based off of like a offensive stereotype, and he just did the joke. And afterwards, when my mom and we were at dinner, and she was like, I think he says those because so that way we know how ridiculous those beliefs are. And I'd never been like, that was like the smartest, like one of the smarter like stupid things I've heard, because it's like yeah, of course, like he couldn't say those things if he really believed them. But it's also like I never thought about it like that. Like, if you go up and do a bunch of jokes based on racial stereotypes and crowd work, like if people are laughing, I would say in Las Vegas, in that city, the majority of people are laughing. You're hoping they're laughing because they know how ridiculous it is. Some people might be laughing because they're like, oh, that's so true. But I don't think you can perform the jokes and have a career like that if you did, and also have friends who are those stereotypes. Anyway, very fun, great shows, one of the best clubs. One of my friends who first booked me to feature at Zanies in Chicago, Cindy, she works there now. So it's like, and you're there for a whole week. Like, very rarely in comedy am I ever somewhere for a week. And so it's like the closest thing I have to friends. No, very fun. This week I'll be in Kearney, Nebraska on Thursday. Come on, Michael. Thursday night, August, whatever Thursday is. And then the weekend I'll be in Kansas City, Missouri, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And last time I was in Kansas City, quarterback Trent Green came to the show. So you could come for the comedy, stay for the quarterback sighting. Trent Green, if you don't know, very good quarterback. He played for the Rams, and he was supposed to be the starting quarterback the year they won the Super Bowl. But he got hurt, and then Kurt Warner, got in the Hall of Fame. But he had a great career with Kansas City, too. Anyway, big hands. Very nice guy. And then the next week, I am in, 2 weeks after that, I'll be in Salt Lake City. Just added Salt Lake City downtown comedy club in the Rickles Room, which is like a smaller room. Friday, Saturday, Rickles Room. Get your tickets like now, because not because they might sell out, but because it'll make me feel good. No, that's it. That was Vegas. That was my the love. I've never really talked about love. Oh, that was the other thing. I was thinking, I'll get this in real quick. I was talking to a friend about this, and it was just like she was saying how women should feel like they should be able to ask a guy out, and I was like, of course, and I do feel like women don't, though. Like, I feel like maybe at this point in the dating career of my age, they're just like, I'm not asking anybody because I don't want anybody to say no, and I get that. But I've definitely had experiences where, looking back, I could see like the signs of someone wanting me to ask, and me not seeing it because I'm a dad and I'm tired and I travel every week, and then them sort of like distancing themselves with me and blocking me on social media, and I'm not. And I'm like, oh, I think they wanted me to like inquire about their availability for I don't ask them out for, I don't know. And I think women, if they just, but I don't know, that's easy. It's easy to be like, go ahead. And then I'm like, I don't think so. I just want, what was I thinking about? Yeah, I think partially you don't ask someone out because you're like, well, if they really wanted to, they would ask me, and that's true too. But there's always you always can take your shot. There was a comedian named Landry on the show. Also, you can follow him on podcasts and social media, and he had a couple of really great funny jokes. But he had this thing where he mentioned Moana, and then he said you have to shoot your shot. It was a different topic altogether, but I was like, that's so smart because the guy that wrote the songs for Moana also wrote Hamilton. And I think in Hamilton, there's a whole song called Shoot Your Shot. And I wanted to ask him the whole week whether he did that on purpose. And I didn't. So I don't know the answer. But I still thought it was good. Anyway, yeah, that's where I was. And then I came home today. I was home early this morning. And, this is it. I go away in a day and a half. In the meantime, tomorrow, I feel like whenever I talk about the next day as a parent, it's that scene in Old School where like Will Ferrell's at like a college party and they want him to like chug a beer or shoot a beer or whatever. And he's like, I can't drink tomorrow. We got, maybe Home Depot if there's a chance. Check it out. Old School. I think it's on Netflix. And I feel that because I'm like, well, tomorrow we might, maybe Trader Joe's. We'll see. Maybe a playground. Who knows? Gotta see how the day goes. See where it's landing. Today was really fun because it was Jack's last soccer practice of the summer. Because in the summer they didn't have games because they wanted to teach skills and kids go away for the summer. And he got a medal. And I love this age so much because they gave him his medal, and then later on, there was the older kids were practicing, and he told the coaches, he's like, I got 2 medals because I played 2 seasons. And they're like, yeah, we gave you the medal. And then he's like, I'm practicing with my dad because I want to score a goal someday. And I took a picture with his medal, and like I watched the game. They had a scrimmage at the end of practice, and he was running around like a madman. He did have an icy. I take that. I got to remember if we have an activity in the afternoon, icy after, not before, because he was running around, which you got to do, but he's also like putting his hand over his mouth, not like in a offensive Native American way. He wouldn't even know, but he was just doing that and then making a lot of noise to the point where one of the guys in our team was like, just stop that. But he doesn't have to, he's a kid. And there's a point where he kicked the ball away and like stopped them from getting a goal kind of. And I remembered it, and then he remembered it. And that was all the motivation he needed to be like, this is my favorite sport. Like he's playing with older kids. One guy had like 4 goals, and and I think that's what's great about sports. Like we can play board games at home. I can play games with him. I can play that stuff, but like we're at such different levels. I'm a grown up, and so I can't go all out. That's obvious, but when he's with kids who are going all out, he can do something as little as that, and it'll like encourage him forever. So that's been fun. All right. I think a lot of this I was really, really where I wanted to be, and I that's not important. I appreciate listening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.